Hey, what's going on, resellers? Welcome back to Lava City Threads. I'm Alveraz. Today we're going to go over a ton of what's sold, and we'll go over some numbers here in just a second. And I have some good news and some bad news. I don't know. So I used to be a full-time reseller, right? Did that for a few years, went part-time when basically I was falling apart health-wise, doing, 12, 14, 15-hour days. Some of you might know where I'm coming from. Eventually, I went back to 3 to 5 hours a day where I am right now, part-time, and I just improved my systems. I was able to, reduce touches on my items that I source all the way through shipping. So right now, I'm trying to get down to 3 minutes per item, and that's from picking it up all the way through photos and storing it, putting it in inventory, and then eventually shipping it. So I've got my systems pretty tight now, which allows me to work 3 to 5 hours. I'm returning to full-time and managing those hours again, because I'm not going to let it come at the cost of my health like it did the first time out. So this time I am going to get back up to probably 6 to 8 hours a day, and I'm going to improve my listings from 30 a day, which I'm doing at the part-time rate, which is pretty difficult, but I'm getting it done, 3 to 5 hours, up to 50 items a day. And so right now everything is about volume for me. Everybody's business model is different, of course. Right now, I'm in a growth phase. Some people are just moderating, trying to keep their certain amount of inventory at a certain level. Right now, I'm in a fast growth phase of my business. And so it's requiring a lot of speed, but working with someone here shortly is going to help me again, work on those systems, reduce some of that time, and also get these listings done in an efficient manner. Anyway, I'm excited. I just wanted to share that information with you. So please subscribe, because we are going to start doing some thrifting videos. We don't really hit thrift stores, but you're going to follow us along to some of our sales that we go to. That's yard sales, estate sales. And then we do have a local bins in our area, but it's not a Goodwill bins, but stay tuned. I'll show you how that all works and how I keep my cost of goods down to $2. I want to get in the weeds with you and kind of show you how we're able to do that, which improves our margins and keeps us in business and allows us to reach our goals. Speaking of goals, let's jump right into the numbers, and then we're going to get into what's sold. So right now we are experiencing a little bit of the summer slump. We were doing really good, but then, July 4th, but it happens every year, and it's happened the last few years, so I was prepared for it. Right now, my goal is to reach $2,000 profit per week. This week, we only hit $1,300 in profit, but if you remember last week, we were right about $1,500. So we're still on track to hit that goal. These goals are going to change, right? Because I am part-time right now, but I'm about to jump back into full-time. So these goals are going to jump significantly. I don't know, maybe 3,000, 4,000. I haven't crunched those numbers yet. I will get down to that number, and I will have new goals readjusted over the next couple weeks that I'll share with you. Right now, $2,000 a week profit is still my target, and I wanted to reach that by the end of the year. So let's get to it. So we listed about 161. Right now I'm trying to, again, list 30 a day, but we did have the holiday. And I did a little bit of fishing and some hanging out with the family and that kind of stuff. So missed my mark on that one. We sold 62. The previous period we had 68. Total revenue was $1,800, and we came in again, like I said, about $1,300. And my profit floor that I want to make on every single item is $15. Right now, we're right about $21.69, so that's pretty good. Pretty happy there. Let's jump into some what's sold. Let's get on with this. First up, we have this vintage auto cap, which is pretty cool, but just as a heads up, just so that way you understand what I sell mostly clothes, maybe 70% clothes, maybe 20% shoes, and then the rest is usually like small handbags or even vintage caps, smaller things that I can fit into my 30 by 10 by 10 boxes that I can put into my poly mailers and line them up with my clothes. If it's small enough to do that, where I can file them nice and easy in my inventory, I'll pick it up. If it's if I can get a nice profit on it, which I did for this one, right? So pretty cool rope, vintage hat. That's something you want to look for. But more importantly, on these old vintage trucker caps, if you can find an auto, look it up. Be sure to check it out. And if you get kind of just a cool old fishing with a full state on it, it's probably going to go. I've sold a few of these before from different states that have different things on it, like a bear. I think I had like a South Dakota one with a bear or something on it. Anyway, so be sure to grab those. They're pretty cool. I listed it for $34.97. And I took an offer for $29, and it sold within 30 days. So 25 days it took to sell. Next up, we have some Olokai Kila Olokai Kila men's waterproof dark green leather lace-up comfort boots. Man, if these were in my size, I would have kept these. They were really cool. So these I had up for $72, and we sold them for $72. We sold them for asking, and we sold them within 10 days. In 10 days, and make sure you guys are getting the inside listed for your buyers. And I like to just get the sides, the front, the top, and so forth. And these sold for $72. And always look up Olokai if you can. Doesn't matter what the what types of shoe it is. I sell Olokai. I'm in Central Oregon, so we have a lot of outdoors activities here that I've talked about before, and a lot of fishing, a lot of hunting, and so forth. And Olokai is kind of one of those stronger fishing outdoor shoes brands. I think they do clothes too. I don't know. I don't remember. But anyway, Olokai is a great pickup. Be sure to check it out if it's in good enough condition. I don't clean shoes, so I try not to get dirty ass shoes, but if they are a little bit dirty, I just discount it and let them know in the description that, hey, these are dirty, you might want to clean them. Okay, so some Olakai's, really nice pickup. Asked for 72, got 72, sold them in 10 days. Here we go. Next up, we have some vintage Everlast fleece sweat shorts. And I don't really see Everlast much out there. Maybe you guys do. There's the tag. But I just remember Everlast since forever, right? Even when I was a kid, I used to watch a lot of boxing with my father. Everlast was always kind of the brand all the boxers used. I don't know if they still do, but I'm assuming they do because these were grabbed pretty fast. But I just looked them up. I thought they were kind of cool. They had a really nice feel to them. So it was a really good kind of cotton. It was a cotton blend, but it still felt really good. And these sold in 9 days for $27.52. So it looks like I took an offer on that, or they might have been on sale. I don't remember. And as far as measurements, I just like to get the full short. Make sure you get the inseams even on shorts. Men and women, they will ask, or you will get those questions. So try to do that. Anyway, Everlast, interesting brand to keep an eye out for. Look it up. I have passed on Everlast before, though, by the way. So make sure you are looking it up. Next up, this is that Whatnot sale. Unfortunately, I can't take you directly to the Whatnot to show you those images, or I haven't figured out how their back end works, how the logistics works of getting through to all their images in the sale. If you know, will you let me know in the comments below if you sell on Whatnot, how to get this kind of like image up on the screen so I can show you everything. So what I just did is I went to I went back to eBay to just show you the images. And anyway, I sold these Janu scrubs for $55. So it looks like I took an offer on it over there on Whatnot. It sold in 25 days, and this was a lot, obviously. And these were small and XS and extra small. And we have a pretty big medical field here in Central Oregon. And big hospitals, it's like one of the bigger employers in our area. And so I get a lot of scrubs. I pick up a lot of different types of scrubs. This is one brand that I don't mind picking up. There are a lot of brands that I won't pick up. So make sure if you're going to start picking up scrubs to be very selective, because there's only, I would say, 3 to 5 brands that I ever pick up. Okay, next up we have some Harley Davidson boots. I told you guys a few weeks ago that I had a pretty big Harley Davidson haul, and this was part of that haul. Listed them for $39.97, and I took an offer for $35. They sold in 35 days. I was actually kind of surprised with these. Make sure you are looking. Don't just. I got real excited when I found these because I was expecting a lot more, to be frank. And it turns out they're not necessarily saturated, but they have to be in demand. Just because they're cool and they're, they're Harley and they're leather and they got these kind of neat attributes to them, and the zipper and the I don't know what that's called down there, some kind of fraying down there with the leather, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to blow out the door for $100. And that's kind of what I thought I was going to get. No, sir. Listed them for $40 based on comps and sell through. But hey, we got rid of them in a month, and I'll take that any day. Harley Davidson, pretty dependable brand. Here's a brand you might not know about, and I was, or at least I didn't know about it, and I looked at, and it was a substantial feeling piece when I was at, where was this? This was at a yard sale, actually, and I was just flipping through a lot of their basics that they had in a box, and I just felt this, and I was like, this is something here, because the cotton was really thick and really strong, and that's because it turned out to be 100% organic cotton, which just tends to have a really nicer feel. In my images, I like to always get pit to pit, neck to hem. And here it is in a full shot here. It was a little bit darker than this. I'm also starting to tinker around with my lighting system because it's been blowing out a lot of my images. So I just made some adjustments. We'll start seeing some sales next week of some stronger pictures that I take and the way that I'm editing them, and I'll show you that next week. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, because we're going to go over that. Oh, by the way, look down here. Look what you see here. Top rated plus. Finally got my top rated plus situation figured out. If you watched a video a few weeks back or a couple weeks back, I went through kind of a small nightmare with eBay and my top rated plus status. I didn't go to eBay jail. They didn't take it away from me or anything like that. It was a mistake that they ended up making, and they were going to fix, and they didn't. And then, anyway, we eventually got it fixed. By we, I mean I got it fixed. Prairie Underground hoodie dress. It says gray hair, but it's actually a little bit darker, longer zip, goth, lagging look. I listed it for $43.97. And that's just that's the tag you're looking for right there with my ugly thumbnail. And I listed it for $43.97, and I took an offer on the same day. Oh no, I'm sorry, the next day for $39.57. I don't know the brand. I'm a little shaky on it, so I just had to do what comps I could on it. Next up, we have a vintage Levi's shirt. So I don't just go for the jeans. You want certain jeans in the 500 series and also vintage jeans. We can go over that later. I went over it, I think, like 2 weeks ago in one of my videos, what types of Levi's I like to go after. But I also keep an eye on other Levi's products, and especially if it's vintage, especially if it's like a band collar resort vintage, and if you can get white vintage without stains and flaws, be sure to look it up. And this is a lot of different brands, because white is difficult to come by, especially vintage that's not stained up or jacked up in some way. So, and this was a large band collar. It had a really nice feel to it. And here's the tag here you're looking for. And we listed that for $39.97. I ended up taking a significant decrease offer to $27 on that. Next up, we have these Halsa Anna shoes, and these are brown leather, orthotic, slip-on comfort loafers. And here's what you're looking for in here. I always keep an extra eye on anything made outside of the USA that's not China. You know, if I can find some of these like Nordic areas shoes, or even Israel shoes made in Israel, I'll take an extra look. And I've never heard of Halsa before, but I looked them up, and the comps were pretty decent. These were in pretty great condition, and I think they went pretty fast. Let's take a look here. They went in 18 days for $41.77. Again, my average cost of goods is $2. So these were picked up for about $2 for $2. Next up, we have another pair of shoes. These are Babolat Jet Mach 3, all quartz. I believe these are more for pickleball, not just tennis, but I'm not so sure. I don't know anything about pickleball, but I did put tennis in the title, so I must have found that when I was looking them up. Here's the tag you're looking for. So I'm always looking up unique brands that I've never heard of, especially if they're athletic, and most importantly, that they are in decent condition. These were in pretty good condition. Looked them up right there. on the spot. Make sure the soles are decent. And these had already, it looks like, let's see that 11 right there, have already gone through some kind of thrift store option or some kind of discount somewhere. But I picked them up for $2, listed them for $31.56, listed them for $31.56, and they sold in 56 days. So some of you guys might be looking at how fast I'm selling my items and judging based on that. But please remember, if it's under 90 days, that's amazing, right? That's what, if you follow the sell-through rate, if that's your bag, then that's 100% sell-through rate. So anything under that is really good. So don't be discouraged if you're seeing me flip things a lot faster than you might, and I try to have like about a 6-month or so turn rate, meaning I want to turn all of my inventory over within 6 months if possible. So I have a discount type system that I set up, and also I'm now going to be, when I go full time, I'm going to add some whatnot shows to the end of that. Subscribe if you'd like. Here's a pair of Nike Hyperdunk X, size 9.5. This was kind of a cool AI picture that I was able to use on this one. I'm no longer, or in an effort to improve my systems, as I'm always talking about, this was one way that I've changed. I'm no longer using AI models and spending that money on it and spending the time on that. I'm just going back to kind of some simple colored backgrounds, and that's saving me a little bit of time, and saving time is critical because, again, you want to spend as little time as you can per item as far as touches, and touches includes listing and includes getting those backgrounds on there. So I'm continually trying to ensure that every item that I touch, from sourcing through pictures, through listing, through shipping, is under 3 minutes. And again, these are Hyperdunks. Here is the tag here. And I just try to get different sides of the shoes. These were in okay condition, not great. Again, I don't clean my shoes. So here's some scuffing and everything. Just make sure that you're pointing that in there. Listed them for 39 something, and I got $35 on an offer there, and it sold in 54 days. So not bad. These are pretty cool. Some Durangos, some vintage Durango boots. Again, I'm in Central Oregon, so we got a big cowboy population up here, and we've got some farms in our rural areas and ranchers and so forth. So I get a lot of boots, and I get them at a really great price. So these ones were $4, and vintage Durango boots, men, 10D, black, brown leather. What I dug about these, you don't see very often, is this quilted pattern here on boots. So always check out boots. There are some boots out there, and they will tell you by the feel. So they're very tactile. You can pick them up and know pretty quickly if they're cheap or not. So make sure you're looking them up, right? And be careful on brands. But there are several brands that sell very well. And you can even find some that are unbranded. But if you see that they were made in like Brazil, you make sure you're looking them up and getting some pictures, do some like Google photo search on them, because they can be worth a lot of money. And the Durangos, usually a pickup. I rarely find Durangos that I don't pick up. And these were sold for $57 over on, I still have a cold, by the way. I'm sounding a little bit nasally. Sorry about that. So I took an offer for $50 on these. They sold in 36 days. And that was over on Depop, and as you know, Depop fees, next to nothing. I did pay $2 on those, but that's it. Not bad. Depop has been awesome. Here's a J. Crew cardigan, pretty bread and butter type stuff. When I say bread and butter, I mean I grab a lot of J. Crew, but I am very selective on what it looks like. It's got to have something. If it's just like a really simple J. Crew basic shirt or even cardigan, I'll probably pass. But if it's got something interesting about it, I'll look it up. This one here's got this mint green merino, and it is merino wool, so that's obviously going to be important. And it had this ruffle rosette kind of thing going on here, or kind of a bow on it. And I don't know, I just thought it was interesting. I'm telling you about my pictures, I'm struggling with them. Mint is one of those really difficult ones for me to get perfect in pictures. I've been doing this for a few years now, guys, and I'm still struggling with pictures. So if you're struggling with images and lighting, that's okay. It's a process. It takes time. You should have seen these 3 years ago. They were really terrible, right? That was the days of many, many a return. But now I am getting better. So you can discover as you get through these that you can tell that they're mint. But anyway, I'm working on my lighting system. So hopefully over the next couple of weeks, you'll be seeing this mint in a little better condition. Right now, I'm just using my phone, as I'm sure most of you guys are, but I'm changing up my lighting to adjust to that. These were put up for $23.97 and sold for $21.57 over on Depop again, so not bad. And we did so in 9 days, so that one went pretty quick. So what do you know, J.Crew. And here you go. You got a Storm Tech Laser Tech. This one, right now, midsummer, right? We're just after July 4th. So the summer buys will start to slowly, at this point after the July 4th weekend, start to slowly trickle down. And by August, it really starts fall and winter it's liftoff time, right? Especially back to school buying. And people start shopping early for their winter and fall, so make sure you guys are preparing for that, and your sourcing should start to shift right about now. Mine has been for a couple months, where I'm picking up, depending on your inventory, picking up a lot of fall and winter. I've got just mountains of fall and winter that I'm ready to list here in about 2 to 3 weeks. I'll start trickling out with lighter to heavier stuff and so forth. That's how I like to do it. Your model may be different. But with that said, back to the Storm Tech here, rain and wind. So windbreakers, lighter storm jackets, I will pretty much do those year round. And I have noticed that in spring and summer, people are totally cool buying these, and they buy a lot of them from me. So this one was kind of interesting because it had this little tag on it here. And I think it's some kind of local company, which usually can devalue your item. So that's why I did list it for pretty cheap. You'll see here, despite the fact that it was in excellent condition. Here's what you're looking for. And it's waterproof. And I think it might be ripstop as well. I don't remember. I didn't put that in the description. So maybe it wasn't after all. Oh, but here's where I made a mistake. Is I put in the description Napoli. Because I couldn't find this logo, but it reminded me of Napoli, the Italy soccer team. But totally wrong. Waterproof, H2 Extreme, breathable. Here's some, it just had enough hits on it and interesting new features that just look pretty nice that it was a pickup for me. And I don't even think I comped this. And I wouldn't be surprised if the comps weren't all that great for this. Anyway, listed it for $23 and it sold in 28 days. So what do you know? Make sure you're looking out for Storm Tech. Here's a vintage Nike track pants with some piping on it, windbreaker pants. They have that kind of Y2K baggy look to them. Guys, do not sleep on Nike track pants, especially if they're vintage, right? But I sell Nike track pants. They are very bread and butter for me. I will pick up maybe 7 out of 10 that I find. Only very few Nike track pants do I not pick up. And here it is, the polyester, cotton. I didn't get the small tag in this one, and that's because it's Depop, and Depop only allows a certain amount of images. And if you're doing cross-listing on Nifty, you're putting them all in order, and eBay will take most of them, but then each platform has their own maximum amount of images that you could put in there. And I always screw up like I did here and forget to put the mini tag in there, which has the style number, which is a great thing about Nike because it tells you if it's vintage, it tells you what the style number is, and you can quickly look it up to comp it. Anyway, listed these for $25.97, and they went in 26 days for $25.97, so I got asking for that. Again, a solid bread and butter. You know, you're only going to walk away with $15 to $20, $15 to $25 on most Nike track pants. But now, if you're cool with the slow dime and you have the inventory space and you want to sit on it, I will put some Nikes if they're really cool or they have some kind of interesting hit on them or like a spell out or something really cool on Nike Y2K or 90s track pants. I'll lift that price up, right, to like $40, $40 to $50, and I'll sit on them, and they'll still sell, but it'll take your full 90 days, full 6 months to get rid of them. But right now I'm hustling. I'm building my inventory really fast, so I also want to make sure that it's moving fast as well. Next up, we have a Sir Pendleton button-down shirt. I use the word butter in this one because there's a little bit of butter mixed in there, and that's just a fun keyword that I like to use because it is being searched out there. So when it comes to Pendleton, I avoid most cotton. I don't know about you guys, but anytime I've tried to sell like a Pendleton cotton shirt or a cotton item, it just doesn't sell very well. When I come across that virgin wool, though, I'm always taking a double look. And I do know that when I have a Sir Pendleton on my hands, I grab it. More times than not, usually based on condition. So this was listed for $33.27, and I sold it in 46 days for $31.61. And this is an interesting way that you can consider photographing your shirts if you'd like. A lot of people will do something just simple like this, but if you want to save the buyer a step of having to zoom in, you just make sure you throw your long sleeve across the chest there so that way they can see that it's long sleeve. I like the tilt on my images. I guess you guys have probably noticed that by now. My girlfriend's still like, why do you tilt every single image? I just think it gives it a little bit of movement. I don't know, it just feels that way to me. It's just an aesthetic thing, but whatever you're into, that's cool. There's the tag again. Again, I try to get pit to pit and neck to hem. Sold in 46 days for $31.61. Moving on. Here we go. We got a pair of Dickies skateboarding Vincent Alveraz Balam regular fit pants. I don't know what the Balam is. Vincent Alveraz, I think I remember that name. My name is Alveraz. That's my first name, spelled differently than this guy, but this is his last name. I think that's why I remember his name. But anyway, here's a tag here. So when it comes to Dickies, I don't pick up a ton of Dickies. It's usually got to have something special going on, right? Whether it's like double kneed Dickies, Carpenter, but even then, like those don't sell great, right? Those are like $15 profit deals, right? You have to just be careful depending on what your floor is, what you have decided your goals and your minimums are. But some people sell Dickies pretty bread and butter, and they're comfortable with making that $10 to $15 profit, sitting on it for 5-6 months. If you have that kind of space, you have that kind of interest, just make sure you're looking them up. I like to go after Dickies that have something interesting going on, like these skateboarding Vincent Alveraz. Got kind of an interesting thing going on there. And there's just some of the tags here. So Dickies skateboarding, which by the way I don't run by often. What's the other one? Like, is Dickies the guys with the fire hose? Am I mixing that up? Anyway, I do pick that up. I think it's Dickies, but I don't remember. All of a sudden I'm thinking it's Carhartt. Dickies skateboarding, if you can find it. I don't find Dickies skateboarding often. I don't remember the last time I found it. Maybe last year. Anyway, cool pickup. Listed it for $36.97. Sold it for $30. Moving on. Frank and Eileen. Yay, I love Frank and Eileen. So Frank and Eileen is still a hot brand. And it's been popping for a couple of years now for me. And I will pick it up every single time. Unless it's like really jacked up or something. But I've never had a Frank and Eileen I didn't like. So Frank and Eileen, this is the Grayson. You'll find it right down here, usually below the tag. Plaid button-up shirt, long sleeve, tunic. And again, I'm using just kind of colored backgrounds now, and this one seemed to kind of pop that one out, so I'll take it. This one sold in 10 days for $48. I got asking for it. Next up, I got a sale over on Etsy, and this is an interesting one. Vintage Barbizon. If anybody remembers Barbizon, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and Barbizon was like always a name, and I think it was like a haircut place, like a beauty salon type of thing. That's how I remember it. I don't know. Write in the comments if you remember, but I saw Barbizon on the tag. Where's the tag? Here's a tag, Barbizon. I'm all, holy mackerel, that's weird. But with that, not just that, but the fact that this is a house dress, right? We called it back when I was a kid, moo-moos. Is that kind of the same thing? But anyway, it just reminds me of my grandmother, so grandma core. And anyway, so it had this floral pattern, but what was kind of cool about this one is it did have pearl snaps on here. It was from Barbizon. It had this interesting half circle here. It was really nice and soft, and it was vintage. And it was, wow, let's go for it. And I did my research on these, and I have been noticing, and I've been picking up more and more house dresses, these kind of old, weird grandma dresses. They're not weird. You probably enjoy them. I don't know. So I've been picking them up, and they've been selling, and they're not selling for great money, you know, but I'm getting 20 to 30 bucks a pop, and they're really not taking me that long to sell. This one sold in 18 days, and I got 23 bucks for it. Not bad. Keep an eye on these. Don't sleep on sleepwear. Be sure to check it out. And here's a Columbia jacket. Columbia, boy. So Columbia is an interesting brand because I'm very selective with Columbia, and I'm always looking for something like this, like an Omni Heat. What's the other one? Like Omni Cool or something. It's always got to have something going on. This one was in really nice condition, so that was a big deal. It had lots of these kind of Omni-Tech waterproof, breathable kind of hits on them, and some significant qualities to it that I liked. And again, like I mentioned at the top of this video, right now I will sell these kind of lighter rain wind breaker jackets pretty much all year, so don't just stuff them into fall and winter. And obviously the interesting part of this one is it had Coca-Cola here. So when it comes to branding, collabs or branding, or like a company will buy, 5,000 Columbia jackets, throw their label on it and give them out at office parties or give them away to their employees and so forth. If it's a big enough brand, a recognizable Americana type brand, I'll pick it up. If it's Bob's Tackle Shop down the road and it's on a new Columbia jacket, I'm not going to grab it. If it's like a vintage Columbia jacket or some kind of like vintage LL Bean jacket and it's got Bob's Tackle on it, that's a little more interesting because the kids don't mind that kind of stuff. They like buying those. It's just got kind of a cool, old, beat up, distressed feel to it, and it's got, Bob's Tackle or Joe's Tire Shop, and even his name over here, Joe, with a patch on it. That kind of stuff will move, right? That's that old like 90s Y2K vintage cool skater punk rock look. Now, if it's a new item, I want to see if I'm going to pick it up, it's got to have something major on it, a major type company like Coca-Cola or Microsoft or Apple or something like this, where I will even consider it. So Coca-Cola here, no problem. That's a no-brainer for me. People love Coca-Cola. People like a good waterproof hooded Omni Heat jacket by Columbia. $37. Sold it for $37, and it only took me 3 days. Maybe I got sniped. Maybe I should have lifted this price up a little bit more. Next up, we've got Maeve Anthropology blouse. This is a little baby doll kind of piece. This one actually took me a little bit longer than I expected it. Well, it took 34 days. Not bad. Amazing, actually. That's really great. But Maeve, I don't know. I haven't met a Maeve that I don't like. I pick them up pretty frequently now. Which is interesting because I'm not quite sure why, but Maeve seems to start, I'm starting to see Maeve a little bit more often now than I used to, which is not really a great sign. So be careful out there. Still look it up. See if you're seeing any trends with Maeve, because I'm seeing it, once a week at least, I think right now. That wasn't the case like a year ago. You'd find it once a quarter. So what's going on there? If you know, actually, if there's some insight that you have, be sure to write it in the comments. But until I start seeing a significant decrease in my sale price, or it being, I'm not going to call it bread and butter, but seeing it move as consistently as I do, I'm going to keep picking it up. I will note that this one took 34 days, and I did take a slight decrease on this, I think because it was on sale. And I sold it for $23.06, listed it for $24.27, but that is a difference. And I did go back and look at Maeve from last year, and these were closer to $30. So there seems to be a shift in the wrong direction here for Maeve, but pick it up. Right now, it's still selling, man. And this is kind of an interesting one, baby doll. It's got that, are this called eyelets, crochet? What do we got here? I don't know, maybe a little bit of both. I don't know. I don't have my keywords down. I just started selling women's wear like a year ago, something like that. And so I'm getting better at it, but I'm far from an expert on all of the keywords for women wear, but I'm watching a lot of YouTube videos and following a lot of folks who do sell women's wear, and I'm getting better. Next up, we have an unbranded military surplus commando sweater. Keep an eye out for these because these do pop up pretty frequently, especially if you're like a bin shopper, or you'll find them at thrift stores too, and they'll usually let these slip by them. And a lot of them are wool. That's really what you're looking for. And it doesn't really matter the brand because there's guys out there who love buying these for various reasons, for outdoors activities and so forth. But anyway, this is an unbranded one. You can pick them up pretty cheap, $2-3. I think I paid for this one. Yeah, $2 cost of goods there. Sold in 57 days, so not super, well, it is fast. Again, that is very fast, but 57 days, $23.97. Sold it over on Depop, so nice profit there. I sold a pair of these a couple weeks ago, if you guys watched that video, and I had picked up 2 on the same day from the same seller. Not seller, it was I think it was an estate sale. Yeah, and she had 2 pairs of these fins, and fins do really well, and I really like the hits on these. You can see how these kind of pieces here, and then you got kind of a 3D fin comfort here, Germany. Again, you're looking for different types of countries if you can find them. This is usually a signal too. You know, if you're seeing a size 40, a European sizing, just take a quick double check, you know. That doesn't mean they're going to fly or that they're going to sell. It just means that, okay, this is from Europe. Let's take another look. These are leather, these are fins, definitely look for them. They sell pretty well for me when I can find them. I do not find them that often. Listed these for $46.97, sold them for $44.62, and they only took 20 days to sell, so not a bad pickup. Kind of a dark blue leather here, and even with a little bit of wear on the inside, people are usually cool with these types of pieces, especially if the leather itself is in pretty good condition like these. Then the wear on the inside isn't such a big deal. Next up, we have another pair of Jordan Flight Runners. Or I'm sorry, another pair of Jordans. I think I showed you guys some Jordans I sold earlier. But here's another pair of them. They were in decent condition. And again, Nike. I pick up a lot of Nike and Jordan. Just make sure you guys are checking these codes out and ensuring that they'll move as fast as you need them to move. These are pretty cooked on the bottom, right? A lot of wear on the bottom, but still plenty enough tread. You can see here on the back, though, you know, there's some wear. But hey, you grab these for $2, I'll sell them for $33 all day long. Not bad. Talbots. Oh, goodness gracious. There was a time where I would never touch Talbots. There was a time where I wouldn't touch Chicos. There's a time where I wouldn't touch... What's that other weird one I'm picking up that I don't usually pick up? We'll get to it. Talbots, though, I'm experimenting because I'm just watching too many YouTubers, resellers selling this stuff, and it's been driving me crazy. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to start picking up a couple of these and let's see what I can do. And sure enough, here we go. Just sold the Talbots. This one sold in 17 days for $24. Cost of goods was $2. So here's the thing. If you're going to screw around with these kind of brands that you're seeing everywhere, you know, which I'm sure you are at your thrift store and at your bins and whatever, and you're just passing them up, look for something interesting about them, right? I'm noticing a lot of people picking up Talbots, but they're usually being pretty selective with it. They're grabbing really nice dresses, really nice sweaters, and so forth in Talbots. This was just a really good condition Talbots hoodie, and it had a newer Talbots tag on it, which again I don't have in this one because it's on Poshmark, and they have a limited amount of images, but it's on my eBay one. You can see it here. Yeah, you can see it there. Kind of a newer Talbots there, and I gave it a shot, and what do you know? It sold. And that sold, yeah, 17 days. Wow. Okay, here's a pair of boots my girlfriend came home with. She was out doing a little bit of sourcing on her own. She's really improving her sourcing and getting more and more involved. And she picked up these Corral boots, Corral cowboy boots, and these are a great pickup. This is a brand that you definitely want to keep a strong eye on, especially if you can get one that has something extra on it. These particular ones are pretty hot right now. That's with the wings and this cross here. So when she brought them home, I knew right away that we had something nice on our hands. And these are upwards. I think there was some comps I found on here for upwards of like $150, but I wanted to move these pretty fast, which I did. So Corral boots, we sold them on the same day. So maybe I went a little bit too low, but still, I did some comps, and these did have some wear to them, and I still think it was a fair price. And she had picked them up, I think, for like $10. So not a bad flip. Way to go, girlfriend. Next up, CC Filson. If you don't know CC Filson, now you do. Make sure you're picking up Filson. Most Filson, if not all Filson, I'll grab. I'm trying to think of Filson that I don't grab, but I can't off the hand. So if you're seeing Filson or CC Filson, look it up, to be sure, especially if you're not familiar with it. But I talked about this in a recent listing video on a recent haul video. This one happens to be vintage, which is extra cool, and it's a unique hunting type vest. So that makes it extra special CC Filson. Stuck it up there for $48, took $46 on an offer and sold it in 5 days. Next up, we have an Eli Cattleman that I sold over on Etsy for $28. Now, on pearl snaps, I like to make sure that I have different things going on with the pearl snaps. Even Wrangler I'll pick up, but you want to make sure that you have something special going on with pearl snaps, because they can be pretty saturated depending what platform you're on. But if I can get a pretty stiff collar, get kind of these flat pockets, get the pearl snaps, of course. And then with this one, if I can get a black and all black one, I always like to put Johnny Cash in there. And I don't know if it's the Johnny Cash, but something's working every time because I get rid of them pretty quick. And this one went in 42 days for $28. So not a bad flip. Picked it up for $2. Next up, we have something I picked up at an estate sale, and boy, she had a lot to say about this when I picked it up. I picked it up for $2, and she had actually went to go see Kinky Boots on Broadway a long time ago, and so she kept talking about how long ago it was, so that got me more excited about it. So I'm all, okay, I'll give you $2. And she sold it to me. But she also gave me several other items. I think I even talked about this in a video a few weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago, something like that. And she had all kinds of cool stories about her clothes. So sometimes if you can handle it and you can be patient, just sit there and listen, because maybe you'll get an even better deal if you're being patient with them. And I know that's hard, because it's hard for me. I don't know about you, but I hit a lot of estate sales, a lot of sales on my weekend. If I'm going out sourcing, I'm very locked in, and I'm doing, 10, 20 yard sales and estate sales in that day, maybe even some bins work. I don't know. So I just like to get in, get out, but sometimes slow down with them and listen to the stories, because sometimes the stories are pretty unique and kind of cool. Listed this for $33.97. I got $32.27 on it, and it sold in 27 days. So this is a vintage Smithsonian National Museum shirt, and if you're interested in vintage shirts, one of the first indicators you can look for is that it's single stitch. As you can see down here, that's a single stitch there, and you'll find the other place for the single stitch up on the shirt itself, but I don't show it in this, I don't think. Right here, you'll find it right in there. It's not necessarily going to be right here. So you're looking down here on the hem, and you're looking here on the sleeve for that single stitch. And if it's in pretty good condition, and there's several different brands, this one's just a Fruit of the Loom, which is a little more saturated than some of the other shirt brands, but we can go into vintage shirts later on. I do okay with them. I'm not like a shirt bro, right? I'm not one of those kids at the bins who like, this is all they focus on. And you can also look up vintage shirts on on YouTube, and find those sellers who sell them, and they are just full of knowledge, and they know all kinds of great stuff about vintage shirts. So be sure to follow them, and don't skip on shirts, obviously, especially in the summer, but I can sell these all year long if they're vintage. And what's interesting about this one is if you can find one that has a graphic that's not in terrible condition, but even cracked ones are fine. Listen, vintage t-shirts, man, they can be shredded, they can be thrashed, they can be like paper thin, which is actually a keyword you can use. And they can just be a mess, and people will soak these up and buy them up. So please do not skip on vintage t-shirts. Look into it. This one's Smithsonian, right? So Americana, huge museum, massive. So I definitely wanted to pick that one up, and it was in pretty great condition. Listed it for $35, and sold in 15 days for $30. And next up we have a pair of Dan Post boots. And again, this is another brand that you want to look out for with cowboy boots, if you can find them, if you can get them at a good price, right? So everybody's got a different model, a different business model, but I picked these up for $3. And these are in really great condition. Dan Post boots for $3. You're not going to find that out there, probably, right? It's just that I have a saturation of boots in my market, and I know where to go. And I find them in places where people don't quite know what they have on their hands. So I get a little bit lucky. And these are some Dan Posts, black leather, cowboy western, pointed toe, and they are vintage. These sold for $45 on an offer, and they sold in 40 days. Not bad. And if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you can. Please like the video. And I'm going to do a big haul video coming up. And then I'm going to start getting into some videos where I show you my business model. I'm going to lay it out there exactly how I'm doing things from A to Z. And especially now that I'm moving into full-time and that we are going to push our goals to getting 5,000 items into our inventory. Right now we're at about 1,800. But if you remember, I had stopped my stores and took off for a while and then came back, and I had this like massive sale, right? Like 75% off all my stores, got down to like 500 items. So just in the last couple of months, I went from 500 to 1,800 items because I'm just kicking ass with listings every day and really pushing strong while maintaining under 5 hours a day workload. But now I'm going back to full time. Now I have some loftier goals. I want to get back up to 5,000, possibly even 10,000. We're considering going the warehouse route. We're really considering some scaling here because our business model is working. We have been testing it for a very long time and we're getting better at it. We're tweaking it every day, and I'd love for you to go on that journey with us. So please subscribe if you can and like the video. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in a few days. Ciao for now.